forming a triumvirate, looking good.
I'm tired of that guy too.
That sounds like a reasonable thing to believe, that the coach of an NBA team has access to things that people who kind of watch basketball have access to.
Just admit you were wrong.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Please Dunk Responsibly. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ben Rice. With me as always, my other co-host,
Bill Webster. Always awesome to be here. Let's see what's going on. How you doing?
Man, the best I've ever been. Every time you talk to me, just getting better and better. How about yourself?
No, same. And as always, hectic. Hecticness, is that a word? As it transpired every 2 weeks. Hecticity. Yes, hecticity has happened throughout the NBA since we last talked. But you predicted it. Harden to the Nets.
Harden to the Nets.
Besides the fourth team, I guess, that became available, I think you pretty much called it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I made one mistake. I knew there's going to need to be another team in there. I thought the Bulls might be willing to blow it up. It sounds like they're trying to play through what they got. Whatever. They shouldn't have. They should have traded Zach LaVine, but they didn't. And not only did my trade get blown up, but Spencer Dinwiddie's leg got blown up. So
yes, he was not part of the trade.
Really submarined my trade. So
nobody's trading for a guy with no legs? Like, that's so weird. I thought we just saw that, like, paying $120 million for a guy with one leg. So I figured no legs.
Yeah, $60 million. That's the cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a couple episodes ago, I predicted the Harden trade would be James Harden to the Nets. Obviously, with the trade machine on ESPN, you can't put draft picks in, but we knew it implied draft picks.
Oh,
probably a few.
No doubt.
But I said that the Nets would give up Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and that Kurix guy.
Yes, the one you could not pronounce. It was fantastic.
And you'll never guess who they gave up. Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and that Kurix guy. I sent those three to the Bulls. And then I had the Rockets get LaVine and Dinwiddie.
The money work. Yeah, you needed to make the money work.
Yeah, so I had Dinwiddie and LaVine to the Rockets, and then LeVert, Allen, and Kurix to the Bulls. So kind of close. Jared Allen ended up going to the Cavs. LeVert went to the Pacers via that second trade. Pretty close for a guy who, again, not a GM. So
no, that was I give you kudos. Like I kind of always thought that it might happen, but once it didn't happen at the beginning of the season, with all the drama with Kyrie and stuff, I figured like, oh, there's just no way they don't have the assets to give them. But when you give 4 pick swaps and 3 picks, that like first round picks, that kind of changes things a little bit. Like, and the fact that Harden basically just mutinied to the point that you had no choice but to make this deal. Like there was no, he kind of twisted both of their arms behind their back.
And to be fair, my trade required that the Chicago Bulls be self-aware, which that was that was a big bet.
Big mistake. That was your GM not being a GM moment, was not knowing that they didn't care at all or self-aware about improving.
They're so sure they're building a contender through the draft. They're so sure of it.
Who needs an extra superstar? Get out of here. No, they're fine. They're going to hold on to LaVine, and he's just going to be who he is, like we talked about, just a mediocre super like mid-level star because he's just on a bad team, so he's just always going to get good numbers.
Yeah, classic good numbers, bad team guy. And since last episode we reviewed the Eastern Conference, this week we're going to review the Western Conference. That means there is no room for James Harden talk because he's no longer in the Western Conference, and we've already done the Eastern Conference.
Good Lord.
So let me just say there was a controversy about his weight gain and possible weight loss after the trade. I love the idea of James Harden playing in a fat suit. Love it a lot.
Oh, I do. I hope that's the thing. I hope that's what it was.
What a controversy. I would love it. But also, since I'm the king of the hashtags, we did the Save KAT hashtag, slide into RGMs. Those are hashtags we've done. I need new nickname for James Harden, Chubby Chucker. For all you jazz enthusiasts out there. He is not a member of the Jazz, but
no doubt. Like, I had him as the trading block That's what he looked like. You had him as, the chubby chucker, which also is just amazing. If Charles Barkley wasn't known as the Chuckster through TNT, I would say otherwise, like, that would be the most original. Yeah. I love it. I hope he stays fat. I hope he puts the fat suit back on and just does like his version of like Kyrie's like old guy movie, which is escaping me. And he just is like this fat, like baller guy that just goes out to courts and just shoot. Like everybody just looks like he's the most athletic player and just puts 60 on people and dunks all over him. I would love that. I would love it.
I would also love to see James Harden in a reboot of the Santa Claus series, where cause he's already got the belly, he's already got the beard, and it seems like he hates Christmas. It already looks like he like needs he needs it back in his soul. He needs to rediscover the magic of Christmas by being Santa.
Oh, I love that.
I want a pay-per-view James Harden killing Tim Allen.
Which forces him to be Santa Claus because he kills Tim Allen.
That's the rules of the Santa Claus.
Yes.
Children's movie. If one kills Santa Claus, they become Santa Claus.
It's a curse and a gift.
Right.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So as much as we're going to review the Western Conference's first 3 weeks, we've had a trading block, so there's also a trading chip kind of floating around in the ether. Rumors are all over the place that Ben Simmons might be on the move because he got dangled as a possible Harden trade, and now he might be disgruntled. So I think it's time for us to put on our GM hats once again. Have we even taken them off? I don't think we have. But
no.
Let's leave them on. Ben Simmons being traded to another team. What do you got, Phil?
I have no clue because of his lack of shooting ability. That who needs a guy who monopolizes the ball that can only score through layup or dunk? I think we already had Giannis on this level. Where would you go, or where would you pay that kind of money or make that kind of trade for? It seems rough. Like, I don't know. Like, I would say even the Kings couldn't use a guy like that. Like, it's like he'd be useless to us. It sounds like a good move by the Kings. Like they would just do this to do it. Like somehow they would trade Hield or something like that to get another point guard. It sounds totally Kingish, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know where he would go. I mean, you do add good vision, quickness.
Sure.
He's a defensive stud because he's gigantic. He grabs rebounds, but he takes up space and he doesn't contribute in a way that makes sense in the modern NBA. Like you got all these quote unquote unicorns like Giannis and like Porzingis, but they have a skill set that you can at least move around with other people. I don't know if Ben Simmons is useful.
Yeah, no, the unicorn quality is that you have range. That is basically what makes somebody that type of player, is that it's unique, is that you're tall and you create space. If you're just tall and you just have the ability to dunk, like it doesn't do a whole lot because you'll still get outscored on every team, even if you're getting your own shot. Like this is my problem with Giannis that I had and this whole team is that, like we talked about, it's really Chris Middleton's team. It's how he goes, like not how Giannis goes, but because they continue to outscore people all year, but they can't defend. And then when it comes down to it and they need a bucket, they go to Giannis, and he doesn't know how to facilitate, really. Yeah. He just knows two moves, is dunk on you or block you. And when they just shut him down, the game's over. It doesn't matter. They can't stop Chris Middleton, but he doesn't have any help, really, in the playoffs. So they are what they are. I talked about it at length. I'm tired of them. I can go into Kyrie. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to save it, but good Lord, man. I'm tired of that guy too. Get out of here.
Time is a flat circle, and Earth is also flat, according to Kyrie Irving. Nothing ever changes.
Oh, God.
But
worse.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this is a beer podcast, also beer and basketball. We compare players to beers, teams to breweries, all this fun stuff. So, Phil, the beer that we are drinking today, it was your call. What are we drinking? What do we got?
Oh, another hit from our, dream team in Sacramento area, Urban Roots. our power forward / power forward / small forward. They came out with, they just skirt beers out, no real hype. All of a sudden, it's just like, this is pretty amazing. Like down the road, down the middle, IPA is just so good. It's called Modest Pleasures. It seems like it's got a cornucopia of hops in it. It's very citrusy, but not a lot, like no hop burn, as I like to say. On the back end, it's very easy to drink. I enjoy it very much. Get it if you can find it. It's so great. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Urban Roots, a classic Scottie Pippen brewery. You can watch him and be like, that guy's pretty good at basketball. But if you like really appreciate basketball, you're like, Scottie Pippen is like no one else.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, people
he does everything.
Will only downplay him because he's next to Jordan. But they, 10 years from now, will be talking about Urban Roots. There's no doubt that they're going to go down and is one of the top, if not the top brewery in Sacramento. They just keep putting out hits. They make everything from lagers to barrel-aged stouts to incredible hazy and West Coast IPAs. They kill it on all the levels. They're like that team that you want that again can bring it on any level. They can come with saisons, they can come with lagers, or they can come with the barrel-aged stuff. So right now, their IPA game, of course, is on par with anybody's, and I love this Modest Pleasures, man.
Yeah. And so I wanted to do a little bit of a switch up by the way, this beer is fantastic. Go get it. It's wonderful. I love it. Last time we kind of went 1 through 13, 14, whatever it is for each, or 16.
Yes.
What if for the Western Conference, since it's so top heavy, we start at the bottom, work our way up?
Oh, so yes, I like that. Yeah, way to use my brain more. I like that.
Yeah. And this is going to be fact or fiction, dream or reality. What we're looking at is the record that we're seeing today indicative of the team that we will see at the end of the season? We are prognosticating. We've taken off our GM hats, and now we are gurus. We are psychics.
Oh yes,
we've got all. Yes. We wear many hats here in a sport.
Oh, it's
where you
it's
don't
tough.
wear hats.
It's tough. Yeah, we don't physically wear hats, but we definitely put all the weight on and show you exactly what we think, because we're the best, obviously, in our area at prognosticating and telling you what's going to happen. We're as good as it gets with no insiders whatsoever. We do our thing.
Yeah, and if you need more proof of that, go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Please Dunk Responsibly, or on NBA Twitter at Please Dunk Pod, Please Dunk Pod, PLZ Dunk Pod. We are talking shit. We're making memes. We know what we're talking about. I've almost been banned. Everything's fine.
We're seeing that we're doing the right things. That's
right.
what I say. I mean, people are worried about us and our information, so I'm not worried about this at all. Not at all.
You got to break some eggs if you're going to change the world. All right, so we're gonna do fact v fiction, dream versus reality. Bringing up the cellar here in the Western Conference is the Minnesota Timberwolves at 3-8. Common topic on the podcast: the Minnesota Timberwolves' complete incompetence. Hashtag save KAT. It's out there. Also, currently with COVID, again, double save KAT.
Oh yeah, no doubt. On a not so funny note, is I know his parents were both exposed. I know his mother passed. I'm hoping he gets better. Hashtag save KAT. But this team is terrible with him, and they're going to be terrible without him. They don't coexist. This is one example of young talent that you have all together that just can't get it together. Like, this is where Philly looks like a dream team, where they're going to be a 5th seed in the Eastern Conference, 6th seed, and constantly make the playoffs with dysfunction, and this team will not even come close in the Western Conference to competing with the dysfunction that they have. I think this is fact, unfortunately, until they can get some structure and some change and some people who actually just want to play team basketball.
Yeah. One bonus, they're a mildly fun team to watch play.
Sure.
Because they got those moments of brilliance. Ricky Rubio's back, making crazy passes. That's fun. KAT draining trays. That's fun. But
no defense. I mean, this is what we talked about. Jimmy Butler, left this team. One of the first teams he left because they had no heart. They didn't, he got in KAT, surprisingly enough, space about like not playing hard enough. But as you can see, just like Anthony Davis and all these guys, doesn't matter the talent. If you're on a bad team, you just can't get it done by yourself. Get him out of there. Please somebody trade for him and get him on a good team to make it competitive. I feel like we can really see his true talents and what he has if he's on a good team where he actually has role players that can help him out.
Yeah, and second worst defense in the Western Conference. It's not particularly close between them in the first and second, or between second and third. Getting beat by 10 points a game, ugly, not fun.
Ugly. No.
And then coming in tied for second to last, we got the Houston Rockets. Is this a dream or reality? Or let's face facts. To me, they just made a massive trade. They're getting Victor Oladipo, Exum. This is an incomplete, right? We have no idea what the hell this team is going to look like.
No, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. They're in construction mode. These guys have not played together. They had a guy who's purposely tanking to get out. The fact that they even have 4 wins, like to me, with everything that's going on, has got to say a lot. John Wall. Good Lord, are we wrong? I feel like this might be the first time we were wrong
ever
on this podcast ever. As presently constructed. Like, we thought that guy is a garbage bag of bones. He's never going to play. But I feel like he was on the same road as Harden, where he just wanted out of Washington. He is playing lights out. I think Harden, the last talk of Harden is that he just was over the rebuild, and he was just going to get out. But I think John Wall cares. I think this is his first fresh start.
Yeah.
Once they get those guys playing together, I think that they're going to be in the top 8. It's not going to be pretty. They'll probably be 7 or 8. But I think that they'll be there. They'll be there.
Christian Wood looks great. Looks like he was worth it. People said he might be the steal of the offseason. Looks like he is.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Length, can shoot. Great.
And Exum serves as insurance for John Wall and Oladipo. You know, he can play 1 or 2. He's not great at either, but he can fill in the shoes. You take a chance on him. He's got some skills.
Again, like, environment changes everything. I mean, that's why the NBA makes these trades, these colossal trades all the time. Is like sometimes environment can change everything. Like, again, see the Lakers, see all that. They gave away a boatload and everything to get Anthony Davis with LeBron. They get a championship. If nothing else, they won that trade forever. They can never win again, and that trade worked for its purpose. So you got to make a trade for Exum or something like that. You just never know.
And you can't ever undersell players being happy. You know, it's no secret that James Harden made his teammates miserable because of his style of play and the way that he commandeered like the GM room. So the fact that these players now have the freedom to play as themselves, as opposed to not even an arm, like a finger on the hand of James Harden. I think they're like, okay, now we're a more freewheeling offense. We're playing to everybody's strengths as opposed to playing to James's strengths. So I think you can't undersell how that's going to open up the offense for him. Everybody's going to feel more confident, more in. They're going to buy in.
Right. They'll be different, like Miami, right? Like, I think we talked about how Miami made it where they did is because it counted on 10 to 12 guys to get them where they got, like, and everybody played an integral role, and they knew that early on. And I think that's why they were able to beat the teams that they were, because what happens is that you end up depending on just 2 or 3 guys. And then when you need a guy to hit an open shot, well, he hasn't been passed to for 10 games. And now you're telling him he has to hit like the biggest shot of his life. Of course, he's not necessarily going to make it. So that's playing with James Harden. That's why I'm skeptical about the Nets, at least the first year, is that they're going to have to realize that they're going to have to get everybody else involved in order to make it work. I think just like the Heat did when LeBron was there. But yeah, Houston Rockets, as we talked about before we move on, is just they're going to be good. They're going to be there in the end. I like what they did. I think they got subsequent B-level players that are going to excel. And I think they got a bargain and they got draft picks. So I think they win.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I said incomplete before. I think the real issue that we had was I had said, is this a dream or is this reality? When For the Rockets, it was, is this reality or is this a fucking nightmare? Because it was like, is John Wall healthy? What the hell's James Harden doing? So this current one that we're seeing, the 4-7, that's the nightmare scenario for the Rockets. Okay, we spent a lot of time on these Rockets. We should move on.
Oh, my God.
But I need to also, because it's in my head, I got to say it, thought of a trade for Ben Simmons. I know there's rules about recent signings and how long you have before you can trade them. But, all right. Ben Simmons of the 76ers.
Oh, no.
To the Wizards for Russell Westbrook. Who says no? Like, the Wizards have no shooting, but they can just, like, Beal's our shooter. Fuck it.
Ooh.
But now we have an inside presence. We have a better defense because
then you have a scorer.
Has been a truly horrific defender.
But he's so bad at offense. I don't know how much of an upgrade you get by trading for Westbrook, besides veteran leadership, I guess, to some degree. I feel like I don't think that happens, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I don't think I think Morey knows what he got when he got Westbrook last year.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants that.
Yeah.
Like, you just have you have too many alphas. Like, you got to get like a plethora of like mid-level guys and just like let Embiid be Dwight Howard of 2010, 2011, like
09,
where it's like, 09, where he's just like, you just have 3-point shooters around him, and then you just let Embiid like dunk it and then get rebounds, and then you just play around that. I think that's the only way Embiid works nowadays. He needs to be the alpha there, and Ben Simmons is just not going to work. He just doesn't work. It doesn't work. You need a 3-point shooter.
Yeah. The only thing I'm thinking is that on the Wizards side, it gives Beal more freedom on offense, because I think Ben Simmons is fine being a point guard who plays in the post. And the Wizards, like, center, Davis Bertans, is better on the wing anyway. So why not just put Ben Simmons down the post, give Bertans more time to work from the 3-point line?
Yeah, no, exactly.
It works. It's not great. There's no great place to put Ben Simmons. Anyway, just thought of it. Wizards, 76ers, it's not a great trade. Nobody really wins, but it's of the realities that I'm currently...
More time to spend on the Rockets. No, okay.
Less time Rockets, more time Simmons. We've done it. Okay, moving on. Tied for second worst team in the Western Conference, the New Orleans Pelicans at 4-7, but just a negative 1.6 point differential.
I think the Pelicans, oh man, like, they're probably on the cusp. They're probably 9, 10. They're not a playoff team currently constructed. They have, again, a lot of young talent that doesn't all vibe.
Yes.
I don't know but it's so bad because I don't know what they're missing. Like,
right.
It seems like they have like two scoring forwards, and then they have like point guard that wants to distribute. But they don't have enough shooting, or maybe defense too. It's hard to tell like how much defense plays a role in NBA right now, but they don't have height, and they don't play a lot of defense. But Ingram's great. Ingram's a great player, and he's probably their best chip to trade for something. I just don't know what you have to probably trade him and keep Williamson and get more shooting, I guess.
But the problem is Ingram's like their best shooter. So like if you're trading him to get shooting, you better be really sure you're getting that shooting. Like I just saw a stat. I watched the game on Friday that Zion Williamson has made nothing outside of the paint. He's made 0 shots outside of the paint all season.
He's bad. He is bad too. And I feel like,
but he's only like 0 for 6. He's not even trying.
No, he's not even trying. And I feel like that is the problem, is that because he needs volume, and him and Ingram kind of play the same position. Maybe that's your Westbrook, right? Like maybe that's your Westbrook trade, is you trade Westbrook to the Pelicans for Ingram and some picks, and like maybe you go for it. Like maybe that's how you get like a different type. At least Westbrook's going to give you assists. Like he's not going to spread the floor more, but he's going to give you assists. He's going to get the ball to Zion, and Zion can also spread out at least, and he'll be a better 3-point shooter probably. In theory, yes, he'll be a better 3-point shooter than Westbrook in theory, but like that's the only one I can think where you like take a chance. Like other than that, like I wouldn't trade Ingram. Like Philly would trade Ingram for Simmons, but I don't think that would help Pelicans.
The Pelicans are like, fuck no.
Yeah, they're like, we have another point guard who can't shoot. Yeah.
We're in the interior. We've got it. Get away from me with this. Don't bring it up again.
Don't give me 2 point guards who can't shoot. I don't want to.
Yeah. And while we're here, we need to talk about this. JJ Redick, brilliant shooter, lose the stash. It's a disgusting stash. We can't allow
it's
hideous
pretty
stash.
bad.
We let Michael Jordan have a Hitler stash because he's Michael Jordan. We let Larry Bird have whatever the hell that was because he's Larry Bird. You can't have this mustache that JJ Redick has.
No, it is
with your stats.
It's scary. It's very serial killer.
White trash serial killer.
It's not great. It's not like a true handlebar. It doesn't go all the way down, but because of his face, and as he's getting, I get he's been clean shaven his whole life.
Yeah, he's a good looking guy. He doesn't need the stash.
So I get it's like you can do whatever, but it's like don't just go full goatee if you're going to do it. Like either way, it's not a good look, but it's like at least nobody says that's a serial killer goatee. Nobody says that about anybody. It's like you just have a goatee and it doesn't fit your face, so then everybody just says shave your face, not stop being a serial killer, which is what he has right now. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe it's his old man look. Maybe
right.
That's him like asserting authority or saying, but he doesn't. Just stop. Just be who you are. Just be who you are.
He's like, I'm in the house. I'm in the market for a trailer. I'm interested in the lifestyle. I would like a trailer. Does this trailer have a bunker?
Yes.
I would appreciate a trailer with a bunker. I'm JJ.
Yeah.
Redick.
Do you have a van with less windows? Like I would prefer that. Like whichever one you have.
Can you get one of those windows that pops that like extends out from it, but also make it pitch black? Is that possible? And can we put cameras that look out from it so I can?
Yes.
But like you can kind of tell there's a camera there, but it's not really clear till you get up close. So that way people are suspicious, and then they confirm their suspicions. Is that?
Yes, I need one of those.
Is that
Eco
doable?
Lodge.
I'm JJ Redick.
Yes. It's really bad. Unfortunately, again, like this is what happens when you have a guy who has a ton of good looks, has never had to worry about women or people finding him unattractive. So then they just look for ways to find themselves.
It's too easy. What degree of difficulty can I crank up here?
It's like, dude, he has the most proper haircut, and that mustache still just makes it look like he just had a makeover done by like the Five Guys or something like that. You know, like they were like, he should not be wearing that. I hope somebody else has told him besides his teammates it's a bad look, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So in the next space, it's our hometown heroes, the Sacramento Kings, fourth from the bottom at 5-8.
Yes.
By far the worst defensive team in the league by 5 points a game, 4.5. But their offense. Okay, here, let me just put this. They are at negative 9.6 points a game. That's how bad their defense is. They are the worst defense by 4.5 points in the conference, but they're the fifth best offense in the conference.
Yeah, this is what the Kings do. They give you hope in the worst ways, is that if you're complaining about scoring, then they solve an issue by sacrificing another issue, and then that becomes the issue. Like when they had DeMarcus, and it was like, finally we have a stud, but then it's like, oh, that's all we have and nothing else, and then we don't get anybody to help, and then now you're wondering where all the scoring is. Now you trade them for some scoring, and now we can't play any defense. I feel like this is where they are. Like they're gonna be in not bad enough to get a really good draft pick, but not good enough to make the playoffs unless some trade happens out of nowhere that we see that will make them better. But they don't do good enough job at selling off
pieces,
guys. Yes, pieces to get anything for, and they don't do enough trading to maybe pay off later on. Where like I feel like the Nets and these other teams who have ended up with these guys is because you created relationships early on, and because we keep getting rid of GMs and haven't really found anybody since Petrie, we're in trouble. Like, hopefully this Toronto guy knows some people. Maybe we make a trade for somebody on Toronto. I don't know who we would get.
Well, Van Vliet's underperforming, and Buddy Hield is Buddy Hield.
Yes,
make it happen.
But then why do we want 2 point? Then we end up with 2 point guards again. This is
Van
the
Vliet
problem.
is a shooting guard / point guard. He can play off the ball. He's proven it time and again. He's in a slump. Just have him have another kid. Problem solved. Just slam him into his wife like after every game. Just put him and his wife together and like don't let him leave the room.
Can I do Bagley for a newbie or like, of course not, because those are great players. They're not going to get rid of those guys. They're not idiots. Like they're not going to get rid of those guys. So it's like what they need. They're not going to trade. Like they're not going to trade Siakam, right? Like they're going to give him at least another year to suck before they give an opportunity to somebody else. It's unfortunate. I don't know what they do, but they're going to be stuck here until they get a big guy who can like actually shoot. If like Bagley was Porzingis, healthy Porzingis, I say, we're fine.
But
he's not.
And
he's terrible.
Yeah. So as a basketball podcaster, I've been doing my research by joining Facebook groups, and so let's talk about Marvin Bagley for a minute. There's some advanced stats that are super depressing. The dude's averaging like 10 and 7 or something like that, and people are like, it's his 3rd year in the league. He came in as his hyper agile, athletic, defensive big. He is by effective field goal percentage the worst defender in the NBA, with an expected additional, like, if based on the person taking the shot and the distance and where they're taking the shot and the time on the clock, they are 11.4% more likely to make the shot than an average shooter. So you look at the stars, right? You look at Steph Curry. He's shooting 51% or whatever. So he would be shooting 62% against Bagley. Or we take a mediocre, like a decent shooter is shooting like 44%. Now they're shooting 55%. That's an all-world beater. You become from mediocre to all-world playing against Marvin Bagley. That's how the stats bear out. He is a
mismatch on any level. Yeah. Like any level, he is a mismatch.
But the worst part is offensively, his effective field goal percentage is the worst in the league. Sorry, second worst in the league at his position, regardless of playing time. So it's like even the worst guy plays way less than he does. So he's not even bringing it on offense. He's shooting less than 50% at the rim.
Yes.
How do you do that?
And it's rhythm,
and it's not even
timing. Like
they have no
50%. Choice to put Holmes in, and Barnes are working out way better in their second years or their really first full year with the team because Marvin just can't find his role. I don't know. Again, it could be team. It obviously has to be chemistry. He had a really good rookie year, but also he doesn't seem like he's tried to improve. Now, again, you're dealing with COVID. You're dealing with a lot of other factors, but like he doesn't seem like his head is fully in the game. Yeah. He just feels like he deserves something that he's not getting. And like, sure, maybe he's comparing himself to Doncic and all these other guys. I'm sure like they all are, but he has not warranted it. Like he wasn't all world when he played. He got hurt again really early in his, like, from all the playing time they did put him in. And he really underperformed in the bubble. So this is all kind of where we're headed. And I don't know. I think it's time to split. Like, I used to not be like that with the NBA. Like, I'm like, no, let it work it out. Or you end up with the Bulls and Zach LaVine, right? It's just like, it's not working and you're going to be mediocre. Like, why? Just cut your ties now, get what you can for him while he has a couple years left.
Yeah.
And just admit you were wrong. Yeah.
So because I saw those stats, I'm like, that's absurd. Let's see what's going on. I decided to watch some Kings highlights. You call them that? Highlights? All right. But I watched.
Hey, they had some, okay?
I watched some Kings possessions in sequence or out of sequence. I think we can agree that the college game is very different from the NBA because the level of talent is a wide fluctuation. But I watched Marvin Bagley play defense. He has happy feet. He's on his toes, but he's like bouncing, and he's always bouncing left to right. And in the NBA, you and I both know if you're a half step slow, you're done. Right, even a half step.
You have to know what you're doing, confident all the way.
But the way that he balances on defense, I watch every time 2 steps slow. He is 2 steps slow on every rotation. That's effort. That's focus.
Yeah.
That's understanding how the NBA works.
Yes.
He's not an NBA level defender, and he's not even close to one.
No, he's not even trying to be. This is the things that drive me nuts. Is like, I remember the late Kobe talking about is just effort people give in practice and effort. He's like, oh man, he's like, if people are just doing this, he's like, I'm going to be great. Like at one point, if I know, they made it, like once they get to the NBA, they're good. They're not going to, try to be great. And you could see that in a lot of those players. And sure, it's development and putting people in the right. Luke Walton has just as much to deal with his team as anybody. The Kings organization in general, obviously, does nothing but ruin chances when they were on the rise. They were an up-and-coming team, and they decided to blow it up. Of course, you lose a coach, your continuity changes. Now you got to learn new system. But Bagley clearly is like in a funk, and he's not trying to get out, and they can't motivate him to do so. So he is just getting further and further aggressive. So you just, again, have to find a way to cut your losses. Be a third team in a trade. Like we talked about, just to get rid of him and maybe get a pick or 2 out of it. You have Holmes, you have some other guys who are MVP still working really hard and playing great. Yeah, he's playing great. So it's and he's undrafted, guys that work hard like that because they want to make it, they're going to give you that extra effort, where Bagley, obviously second pick overall, thinks that he deserves more, not getting more, and he just doesn't fit with the team.
If we could just keep this Marvin Bagley bag on Bagley train going, I'd also like to point out that
hashtag bag on Bagley.
Bag on Bagley. Yeah. I noticed this lazy screens. He doesn't set a solid screen. He moves away. He gets in the way of the defender, but doesn't make contact. It doesn't let alone maintain contact on the screen. And that I've seen torpedo offensive possessions, players. There was a guy for the Thunder, my team that I love and adore, Mitch McGary, and his first couple of games, he got suspended for the beginning of his career for weed stuff, but he came into the season late, started putting up double-doubles immediately. His numbers had only been seen by Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the first 8 games of rebounds and points or whatever, or shooting percentage or whatever the fuck it was. Who cares? You pick a very specific thing, he's 15.6 points per game, whatever. And there's a guy at 15.5 that does way better, but of course, whatever. Yeah. You pick but he was out of the league within 2 years. First of all, more drug suspensions, but also he just wasn't an effort guy. He wanted his points, he'd get his rebounds, but he always slipped a screen. He would never actually set the screen. He'd never make contact. And Bagley has the same problem. He doesn't want to make contact. He's late. Like I was saying, I was watching things. Clippers, which is the second best team in the West, v. Kings. For whatever reason, Luke Walton has access to the information we have access to, right? That sounds like a reasonable thing to believe, that the coach of an NBA team has access to things that people who kind of watch basketball have access to.
Oh, of course.
So he should be aware that Marvin Bagley is the worst defender in the NBA. So what does he do? He puts him on Kawhi Leonard, one of the most lethal offensive performers in the NBA. Shockingly, this does not work out for the Kings particularly well. So what he does, Luke Walton's like, all right, I'm going to call it. Bagley, you're no longer guarding Kawhi. Let's rethink this. Bagley, you're on Paul George,
an even more athletic.
Yeah, he was more athletic. And by the way, who are we going to put on Kawhi now? Let's put on Buddy Hield, who we have not talked about, but is the third worst defender in the NBA by expected field goal percentage by 10.8%, which is, again, an insanely high number.
Insane.
Shooting a layup. It turns everybody shooting a layup into DeAndre Jordan. Everybody shooting a three-pointer into Kyle Korver. That's what you're getting when you put this man on an average NBA player. You have everybody else at your disposal for these two players, and you're putting 2 of the 3 worst defenders in the NBA on some of the most lethal scorers in the league. That's incompetent.
No doubt. I don't know how they were able to do that. Again, that's coaching. That's maybe you're trying to call him out and saying hey, Like, I'm putting you in a position to help us win, and then you don't do it.
Let's see what you got.
I have no idea.
It's bonkers. Anyway, 5-8. That's about right. They're going to outscore a lot of teams because they've got the firepower, even with Marvin Bagley shooting like dog shit.
Yes. God, there's nothing to get him motivated. If you can't make a shot, you got to be motivated on defense. If you can't find that impact or want to do that, you're a lost cause. Like you can tell effort in practice. You can tell effort in something. It's like, dude, they shouldn't have to get up for this stuff. Like he has to prove himself night in, night out. You see what Fox is doing, and you always have one or two guys on the team that like are giving max effort. And it's like if the other guy's not getting to shoot like 15 shots a game, then he just doesn't do it. And that's the one thing we can say about Westbrook, despite him being a milkshake IPA. That dude gives max effort. I just wish he was like a little bit bigger and didn't shoot as many threes. But that guy is I've been a defender of him for a while, but
it's getting harder.
Good Lord, he's just. He just doesn't make your team better. Like, I mean, it's a team sport. It's you have to win championships. You have to make your team better, and these guys just don't.
He's too much of a risk taker. He gambles on defense. He gambles with his shot selection. But he means well. He just doesn't have the skills to do what he's doing. He
wants to do it all. He just can't do it all, and he won't let other people do it. He won't stay in his own lane and just come with ferocious dunks and set people up and get rebounds and assists. Like, he has to do every single step of it, and then again, in doing so, in another NBA, maybe he wins a championship, like, doing it that way. But in this one, you just don't. Like, you need again to keep your teammates involved. That's the underrated thing that Miami was able to do. Spoelstra being a fantastic coach and all that is like, keep your teammates involved. Then they feel like they can make shots down the stretch. Like, you might not win the whole thing because, the Lakers are just better, but it's like, you guys did far and above way more than you should just because everybody had an equal amount of effort and they were able to do it. And you didn't have to call on just one guy to be the hero every single time.
Yeah. And to be fair, the one closest comparison historically for Russell Westbrook is Oscar Robertson, who did not win a championship until late in his career when he was the third best player on the team. So it doesn't work. Moving on. Because we're
oh my God. Oh yeah, we are way too long, but we deserved it. I mean, Kings are a local team. We have to do this, but yeah, we're done there. They are the 11th to 10th best team in the league at best. So, unfortunate, but what it is.
Now we've got a log jam. These teams are all at 500. We'll start with the Oklahoma City Thunder. My team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, 500. Sounds right. They've got a few pieces. They got 1 million draft picks coming. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a star. They lost a bunch of players that were veterans that had leadership. I'll take 6-6, and that sounds right for the rest of the year.
Yeah, same with me. I think they're in the middle of the road. Like I said, they have a piece. Just again, like this is, I think, where we are in that realm of the Western Conference or other teams, where it's like you have one piece. You have a guy. They have, the Kings have Fox. They have Alexander. They're going to be fine. They just need one or two more pieces to be considered a relevant team or a team for a championship, and hopefully, they get lucky. They've been really good in the draft. You have a really good core. A ton of athletic
guys. Diallo, Lou Dort, the dude with the great shoes. I always forget the name of. He's kind of a bulky, short guy. They've got a lot of like athletes who can finish and are developing shots. They're getting better at shooting each time. Great defenders, great energy, whatever. But it's going to be like 2 or 3 years away. And they're also going to add 97 draft picks in that 3 years. So
sure, and I think watch down the line, they're going to be able to make a trade for a superstar because
of all those picks.
All the trades that they made before, like they're setting themselves up to have relationships with people down the stretch that when you're getting this disgruntled John Wall-ish type player, they're going to be able to get it. They're going to be able to get the Chris Paul, that kind of guy that's going to make them a playoff team because of all this like work they've done previously, which my team, the Kings, refused to do.
Right.
So
up next at 6-6 also, it's the Memphis Grizzlies, who I thought were going to be great, but then Ja Morant got hurt. Had a chance to watch some of the Grizzlies. I'm still on board. Tyus Jones did a great job filling in for Ja, got a lot of experience making plays, hitting shots. Very exciting. I still think they're on the come up.
Oh yeah, I think they're another young team that's great. Again, have the one piece, Ja Morant.
They have
good organization. Pieces. Good organization. They just get the pieces that they need. They just don't have the experience yet.
Yeah.
They're the one team where I'm like, I don't know if they made enough trades to get a guy there to help them. OKC could do, but I would say if you want to see a blueprint of how to build a team, they're the team you need to look at. Then Toronto, they're doing it right.
Yeah, watching Brendan Clark expand his game has been a joy. As far as the veteran leadership, they got Jonas Valanciunas, who's taking a back seat, being the guy that's kind of keeping them built up, but not needing to be the focus anymore.
But he doesn't have enough to kind of carry
he got to the Eastern Conference Finals a couple times. Okay,
yeah, so. He was a great player. He's a great player. They got him on the end of, but yeah, like you said, leadership. They do have it. They just need that.
They just need time. They just need time. Yeah. I think all it is health, time, and continuing their growth. I think this is a mirage. They're going to be better, especially with Morant back now. And they kept afloat. That's all they needed to do.
Right. Yeah. So playoff team this year?
I think so.
All right.
And if they don't, it's just because it's a bloodbath in the West and they barely miss it.
Yeah. They're probably 8-9, I think, this year as well. It's rough. It's tough sledding in the West.
Yup.
Speaking of which,
still also at 6-6, they just can't leave it alone. The completely average team, the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, they're Steph's gonna do his. He got called out by us and many other networks and podcasts about.
I was on board for Steph overcoming one bad game of shooting.
Well, we talked about the team in general that he just didn't have anybody. Oubre continues to be. Not great.
Useless.
Not great. Again, it could have just been he just doesn't fit. I mean, I think they would take Russell back now in exchange at this point. He just can't find his footing, and then it's just basically Steph and everybody else. The problem is that that's not going to win you a championship. That might get you in the playoffs, which it might, because he's an uber superstar. He is a top 5, top 10 player for sure. Maybe 5 or 6. So he's going to be able to carry his team that far. And being in the continuity of having a good organization and a good coach, but they are dead in the water as far as real consideration until Clay comes back. It just shows what he means.
Still a great defender, still a great understander of what the offense should be doing and helping to get it where it needs to be. But Oubre is. I looked at the stats yesterday. He's only shot over 50% for a game twice.
Ugh.
A lot of 30s and 20s. Oof, it's ugly. Wiggins missing open shots.
Those are two. Again, bringing talent and just knowing the system is they're used to volume shooting and being able to pull up when they want on opposite teams when they're on bad teams. And now you're on a good team where it's you'll get 10 shots a game if you play right. You get 15 to 20 and they just can't do it. They just don't know when to pass, when to shoot. And you can tell that's mostly where their timing is off. It's do I take this guy to the hole now? When it's no, that's not how the Warriors play. You just keep moving the ball. If you don't have the shot, don't shoot it. And they can't seem to do that.
Yeah.
They kind of force it.
Draymond is freaking out on offense all the time. What are you doing? Move, cut. What are you doing? But they're not doing it.
Yes.
Ian Wiseman getting better every game. Good for him.
Oh, he's just a natural.
He's
natural.
Fitting in
a good pick by them. He just is doing his own thing, and he seems to be doing it very naturally. You can just tell it's not even scheme. He just knows where to be and what to do when he's there. And they highlight him when he's on the court. They get him the ball immediately every single time. And it's just, you can see he's going to be a reckoning when they're all back together.
Yep.
Jesus.
It'll be nice. And moving into playoff teams as we speak today, the Denver Nuggets also at 6-6, but with the tiebreaker only, actually outscoring their opponents. The Nuggets, 50-50 team. That sounds It's a backslide from last year where they
Oh,
were
no
a dominant
doubt.
offensive team.
I don't know exactly what they're missing as you're bringing back all these guys. Like, obviously, I think COVID's still playing a role on a lot of these guys. A lot of playing in the bubble, playing so hard they did make it to the Western Conference Finals. So, again, it wasn't that long that they played.
Right.
I think they're going to play a role in it, like just like the Heat. I think they'll be back in it. I think they just have a lot of jet lag, and they're going to have a lot of games like back to back. But I think again they'll be there just because of talent. Michael Porter Jr. is just, again, I feel like it's improving. They're getting him more playing time. I wanted him instead of Bagley. I will hold that to my death. And it's looking more and more right, which I didn't want. But everybody was worried about his back and everything, and it drives me nuts because I just said wait a year and that guy's going to be an absolute stud. He can actually shoot, and he's tall. He just looks like he's, again, hungry, wanting to get better. You can tell the difference in these guys. I even see, I mean, we haven't gotten to Doncic yet, but you can even see it in Doncic where it's like he's struggling, and it's like it's not coming as easy as it was like the first 2 years. But you see with Michael Porter, like, this is becoming his year, I think, to stand out and be a starter and really do some things. So I think Denver Nuggets, for real, they'll be a top 4 team for me.
Okay. Yeah, and, last season they were in the bubble. They were all playing in Miami. Turns out the Denver air problem is a real problem. They're there all the time. They're known for not being the most well-conditioned team, even with that. So 6-6 in this current climate with the shortened offseason, like you said, and having to go back to that mile-high air, fine. They'll probably get better. Moving on. We've got so much to cover.
So much.
In the 7th place standings right now, San Antonio Spurs at 7-6, with a 0.1 point differential, the closest to absolutely average as you can be.
I mean, I think they are who they are. Like, I think you could say that they'll be there in the end. They might not. They're the Patriots. They they hadn't made it. They had, for the first time last year, they had
in the weirdest season of all time. They managed
the weirdest
season
of all. Yeah, so
Pop doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. He's only like 80. And speaking of Santa Claus, like this guy, like he just continues to do it. He knows what he's doing. You gotta, that meme of him jumping in the air, hopping mad at a play. He still has it. Like, I think they'll be there, but yeah, do they have any real superstar or somebody that you're like really, really worried about? No. But, are they a good basketball team? Yes. So that just shows again, the Kings, these other teams that are on the cusp that are missing stuff like the Thunder, the Grizzlies and stuff like that. I think they're all on the right track, but it's like, that just shows, like, could you imagine if Pop was coaching one of those teams? Would he be able to get out of them? I'm still thinking that, yeah, they're a fringe playoff team, 8-9, maybe, hopefully. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see very soon.
And, the thing about the Spurs is they're consistent. And so they don't have anybody that's going to, like, wow you every game, but they have the super consistent LaMarcus Aldridge.
DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, DeMar DeRozan. So those guys, you know what you're getting. It's good.
Yeah, exactly. They're A2s. They're like your second best player on any team. You just happen to have 2 really good second best players.
Yeah. And so you've got hyper athletic guys like Lonnie Walker and this young guy I've been watching highlights, Keldon Johnson, seems to be hammering it athletically. So they've got these guys that can go in short bursts, so they're going to have enough because they're the Spurs. They've got 2 consistent guys that'll make sure that they don't lose by being incompetent buffoons, and then there's people that can take them to the next level on occasion. And I think that's good enough for a low seed. I think the Spurs will always be there because they pride themselves on having just enough every game.
Yes, exactly. They are better than the sum of their parts, right? Like, I think they're just a team that just they're a machine. You're not gonna remember a lot of their guys' names, and they're getting up there, but they're constantly there, and you don't know how. But it's like because they're just efficient, they make shots, they play really good defense, and they keep the games close. They just lose a lot of close games, but that's why their differential is what they are. They're not going to blow you out, but they're going to be in every game. So it's like if you had to take that, I think you would. You would just rather be in every close game, especially as a playoff team. You're going to deal with a lot of close games, unlike the bubble. I feel like this playoffs, and that's what you want. You want to have that, like, you're never out of it kind of thing. Yeah. So, I think the Spurs are there.
They have the players that can, they might be a low seed. They can still win a series if it's not against a 1 or 2 seed, because they've got the players that can just go off.
Yeah, right.
So in the 6th seed right now, the Dallas Mavericks at 6-5. That's Luka Doncic and Porzingis and a bag of batteries. What are you?
I think they're definitely a playoff team. Lower end, as we talked about. They're missing probably a piece or two, from being like amazing. They're good. They're really good. I know that, Hardaway Jr. has really stepped up this year, at least so far in the first like 12 games or so, has played like pretty lights out and is finding his role. Brucein on their bench, like, has also been stepping up when Doncic goes to the bench, and like has been a good leader and a good scorer, kind of in a Van Vliet role. They seem like they're almost there, but it's like if they were on the East, they'd be a top 4 team. Like on the West, they're 6 or 7. Like it's how it is.
It's hard to like build up after being a historically great offense last year. You knew they were in for a slight crater, or a drop back. It's hard to live up to that standard. And we haven't done this yet. We haven't compared a player to a beer, so let's just do it. You mentioned him. Tim Hardaway Jr. doing the most to not be his dad. Absolutely nothing similar physically, nothing similar in their shot profile, their leadership, the way they play. Tim Hardaway Sr., the UTEP two-step, one of the great point guards of the 90s, fierce competitor defensively. Tim Hardaway, he's getting his shots. He's going to be wild. He's not a great defender. Got a big old beard. Tim Hardaway, clean-shaven, bald head. So we've got to look at this as a beer. If you were Tim Hardaway Jr., you come from stock. So we've got to assume it's a brewery that's an offshoot of a previous brewery. That's how I would view it, personally. You don't have to agree. But if you were going to put...
I like where you're going with this.
Tim Hardaway as a beer, what do you think?
Oh, man. Off the top of my head, I would have him as a... I would have him as definitely like a session IPA. Like, he is a summer beer. Like, he has his place where you're like, God, I really want an IPA, but I don't want to be completely wasted. I want somebody who's going to give me minutes, but not try to take over the entire game, be efficient, and do his thing. So, you know what? I would say he's a Founders All Day IPA. Like, if I had to pick something, like, I think that's where he is for me. It's not going to blow your socks off, but like, when you have him in that right situation, you're going to be like, good Lord, that was a great call by me.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're on a pretty similar path as far as that goes, because Founders is also kind of a major player now. They've got some distribution, got a little deal going on, and they've got some rough edges, we'll say.
Sure. Oh, for sure.
Yes. But I had a very similar thought. For me, I'm going to make him an Elysian Space Dust IPA.
Oh, see, yeah, we're all on the same
because
page.
They are owned by a large corporate. They're now Anheuser-Busch owned, I believe, if I recall the company that bought them correctly. So
poo-poo on you, but yes, keep going.
So the person who created Space Dust is no longer with Elysian, started his own brewery, and ended up making Space Dust again, but gave it a different name that kind of mocked Space Dust and the buyout. But I still think, that's Tim Hardaway. It's the hardworking guy who takes cuts on his paycheck in order to be the master of his craft, whereas Tim Hardaway Jr. is selling out hard on offense.
Oh,
like
easily.
Elysian sold out to get their Space Dust in every grocery store in America.
Defense. There's no defense on this side of the ball.
It's indefensible. That's not true. I totally get. Look, if you start a business, I think the idea is to make the most money you can at it. Yes. And anybody who says differently is lying. So
they're completely lying. If somebody hands you a bag of cash, I don't care about
hard work.
How loyal you are. You are selling your life's work for $1 million. There's no way you're not doing that.
So it's not an insult. Space Dust is still a great beer. I don't buy it.
It is.
Just
I don't
personal
buy it.
Profile on myself.
Yes.
But I'm not mad at people who do. I'm like, hey, solid beer. Good beer. Do
right.
it. You're paying too much for what you're getting. Do you understand this is a mass-produced beer? It shouldn't be the price of a locally sourced beer that isn't mass-produced. This beer cost them 12 cents. Why are you paying?
Right. They're making an exorbitant amount of this product at one time, which allows them to sell it for that should not be very expensive because they're making gallons and gallons and mega gallons. Whereas a craft brewer is making probably 20 gallons of this beer, and they're hoping to God that most people buy it all. Yeah. Like, this is much different, much, much different. And they're using probably less quality ingredients, of course, like, because that's the whole point is to how can we make this when it goes to a conglomerate with the least amount of cost as possible so we can get the best amount of revenue.
We own all the hops in this country, therefore we'll use hops strictly from this country.
Exactly. It's just sad. It's sad, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, so it's along those lines. Like, I think like he is an efficient player. He's way better with considering how
what did he look like on the
how
Knicks? Your
father is a all-time NBA player, especially in the Bay Area and Miami. But yeah, it's good. It's good that he is playing up to somewhat of a potential, and then I think that he fits well on that team. I think he is their Buddy Hield in some short amount. Like he has to he creates his own shot. He gets past open shots by Doncic, and Doncic, speaking of which, is playing horribly right now
by his own standards.
By his own standards,
but still,
like so far off, like from what he was. Now, of course, he couldn't be perfect, but you would assume he'd be a shade of what he is. But it seems like instead of a sophomore slump, he's kind of having like a junior slump.
Yeah.
But I think. Again, it's the pressure. You were just in the playoffs not that long ago. All these playoff teams that were there before, and it's so early in the season, and you're playing so many games smushed together that you're going to have a lot of this. But I think overall, like they'll be there at the end. They'll be a 4th or 5th seed for sure, and it might not be good enough, but I think they'll win their first round series as long as it's not against the Lakers or the Clippers, I feel like, yes.
And then in the 5th seed currently, it is the Portland Trailblazers, the C.J. McCollum-led Portland Trailblazers, as Dame Lillard takes a back seat a little bit. McCollum outscoring. I would never have called that.
I could have, but because they're so similar. And it's weird that they work, but they're, again, like McCollum's always kind of been... He's been willing to be the Pippen in that way in the shooting rate. Like he's just like, oh, I'll shoot when I'm open or when you pass it. He's just as good as creating his own shot. He's been taking some shots where I'm just like, I don't know. That's just bad basketball. I don't know why you would just go down outnumbered on a fast break 3-on-5 and then proceed to spin into the lane and throw it up and it goes in. So it's like, you can't say anything, but it's not good basketball down the stretch. This is why they usually end up making the playoffs, but then don't get out of the first round because, again, you're not involving your other stars, but they just happen to have 2 really good players, which, again, is the difference between them and the Grizzlies and the Kings, is that you don't have 2 really good players that can create their own shots, but then you don't really have anything that can create a championship because you're not really moving the ball around a lot. He is playing phenomenal. They're going to have to break up eventually. I would assume they will. I don't know where he goes. The Portland will just keep, they'll keep dealing with just being just good enough to make the playoffs.
I was thinking about this. You've got these incredible shooters on the Trailblazers, defense a struggle. Could we put Ben Simmons on the Trailblazers, but keep McCollum and keep Lillard? Put Ben Simmons on the perimeter because their defense is terrible. Put him at the top of the key, swallowing stuff up. But then on offense, he's taking up space down low, which is fine for them because they've got Carmelo Anthony stepping out for shots, revitalizing his career. Crazy. I didn't see that coming. Covington, also a more perimeter-bound guy. I feel like you could put Ben Simmons down in the post and be like a little wizard down there. Get a little Arvydas Sabonis going again.
I kind I kind of. Ooh, I mean,
I don't hate it.
I think you'd have to give up something.
Yeah, the problem. Okay,
that's the problem. Is like, so do you give up a Nurkic? Do you give it the only size that you have?
Right.
You have to give up McCollum or Lillard in order to make that work. Like, I think it would work, but I don't know if they'd be willing to do that because it seems like they just doubled down like Houston did, right? And just got more shooting instead of like really caring about defense. Is that, we just get more 3-point shooting, and then we just have one big guy who can pass it, Nurkic, and we just hope that he stays healthy to like deal with it instead of like, kind of like the Denver Nuggets, and everything like that. It's like you just kind of like hope you have one skilled big guy who can score on his own, and then you have, perimeter guys all over, and you just hope to God that works. And they just, like you said, they don't play defense, they don't pass the ball enough. So to me, they're 5 or 6 seed, probably 6 or 7. But yeah, they'll be in that range. We'll see. Like, I think it's like them or the Warriors. It'll kind of see who makes a move. If the Warriors make a move to improve themselves and get out of the Oubre mess, but the way he's playing, it's going to be hard sell to get rid of that contract there is. Yeah, it's going to be, we'll see. But I think Portland's in a better place right now with Clay hurt than the Warriors. So I would put them like at like 7 or 8, yeah.
So I'm looking at their lineup, and Dame Lillard is the only point guard on the roster right now. So, I mean, you're like you're saying, Nurkic might have to go, but I'm looking at Derek Jones Jr. and Rodney Hood, who is a solid shooter, both super athletic guys that can get in, like that can help this team. But looking at this at the cost, they'd probably have to give up all 3 to get Simmons.
To make Simmons work. Yeah.
But of the teams, functionally,
but they're not giving up Lillard. There's no way they would give him.
There's no way. It would be stupid. It would defeat the purpose of what they're doing.
Yes, they'd have to give him McCollum.
No,
or something like that to do it, and then that just cut your nose to spite your face. Yeah. So you're not going to get rid of Carmelo when you have that.
And his value to you is more useful than his trade value because he's only making $1.6 million, but he's revitalizing his career, which I did not see coming. But he finally bought into being like this fourth player that he'd been fighting for like 5 years.
Yes,
good for him, Carmelo. Cheers to you, buddy.
Yeah, no doubt. Cheers to you, Carmelo. Way to go.
We all thought you were done, but yeah, I think it's a lot to give up. It's going to be some draft picks, whatever. But I feel like that's probably the best fit for Simmons is being Arvydas Sabonis Part 2 in Portland. Do it. Anyway, slide into my GMs if you got a better trade. It's please dunk responsibly at gmail.com. All right, let's keep moving.
Yes.
In 4th place, it's the Chris Paul-led Phoenix Suns at 7-4. Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton forming a triumvirate. Looking good.
Yeah, this is what we said would happen, right? Like, Chris Paul goes to the playoffs. And like, he's going to make them better. They're going to be there in the end. I think they're going to take one of those teams out like the Spurs or something like that. So it's going to be probably them, and he's going to be throwing it up to Anton and other guys. And it's just going to be, Lob City, Arizona, like in some way, shape, or form. Devin Booker doesn't have to have the responsibility of being the leader all the time. Why Chris Paul's kind of doing everything. I think it's a perfect fit. It made no sense to me why OKC would do what they did in this regard. Like, it's like lose the thing that got you there. I mean, I get like they have bigger aspirations than being the 7th or 8th seed, but it seemed like you were heading in the right direction and proved everybody wrong with that trade, and then just trading him away seemed like it wasn't really going to help Alexander in the end. But like, hey, I've been wrong before about them. OKC seems to be far ahead of what everybody else as far as development, and they're again really good at drafting players even in this COVID time. So Phoenix Suns, they're gonna be there again. You can't like. Devin Booker is hitting another level. He's great, and he's got a lot of helpers. Yeah, if they just get a little bit more shooting, I think they'll be fine. Like, I think they make some mediocre trade for somebody, they can be really, really good. But they're going to be frightening in the playoffs. You probably don't want to play them in the first round because Chris Paul will make you go 7, as we've seen before. 4.
Yeah, he may not win it, but he's going to get you to 7.
Oh, he's gonna make you work, which is gonna tire you out later on.
Classic Chris Paul. And then we got in third place the Utah Jazz, the Heat West, as some may want to call them, and by some I mean just me, just a collection of players. Because like when you say who's on the Jazz, tell me who's on the Jazz.
Donovan Mitchell, Bogdanovich, and another guy who looks like Bogdanovich. Ingles. That's right. Yes, Ingles. Yeah, there's a lot of, again, I don't want to say that they're like the Heatles in that way, but they are. They're like a team of the team. I would say that they're the Jazz, right? Like ever since Karl Malone and them left, like they had that, or they're just a good organization. They're just good Lord. Like they just draft well. They get the right guys. They nurture them, and they have like excellent, like they just have excellent development, and they get these guys to play as a team. And that's why we never know who anybody is. Yeah. Because nobody like stands out and does anything. They just keep playing great. Like they're San Antonio without the championships. Like they just get it done. Like that's who they are. They're the new San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah. Like, okay, Donovan Mitchell jumps off the page, jumps out of the stadium. Like, he's clearly the number one guy. But you look at this lineup, Bojan Bogdanovic, Jordan Clarkson, Mike Conley, Derek Favors, Rudy Gobert, who you forgot, by the way. He just signed a massive extension.
Oh, yes, Joe Ingles, I know. We were just talking about him.
Yeah, these players line up. They're a solid team, and they play together well. And that's why they're in third.
Yeah, they play. And again, they don't they made the playoffs, so they're not going to be like fully rested compared to the other teams, but they just have that continuity that a lot of the other teams, because they didn't make any really big off-season moves. They just solidified Gobert and Mitchell. So like now they're the Denver, Utah Jazz, like they're these guys that are like they're going for it.
They're always around.
They assembled. Yeah, they're like doubling down. Like this is the team we assembled. We're gonna see what we can do this year. Now with another year assembled under our belt with who we have. I don't know if they're gonna make any moves. I think they're gonna kind of go with what they have. Like that's how Utah's kind of always been. Like, and then they've benefited. Like when they got rid of Hayward and they traded him like for picks for the Celtics, they made out. Like they've just gotten players that have been helping them ever since. And again, another team that just knows how to develop players. It's stupid.
And I pitched this the other day. Can you pick them out of a lineup? Joe Ingles, Joe Harris. Can you from the Nets? Do you even know what these people look like? Could you tell with me which one is which? I think.
I would love this with like Charles Barkley.
If I'd have had time, or if I thought of it, I should have like pulled up pictures, saved them with no jerseys, right? So you couldn't, that wouldn't be the giveaway. And then just like screen shared with you, like, who is this? And I'll give you like 3 options. You got to tell me who it is and see if you can do it.
Yeah. See, TNT has that with Charles Barkley where he got the who he play for is the game. And they basically do bench players that have traveled, and Charles Barkley has to name them, and he can never name a one player. Like, and they always put Garrett Temple on, and he goes, and so now they have this new thing of the Hall of Fame of who he played for, where he can continually put him on, and Charles Barkley can't guess what team he plays for still, and so it's amazing. It's amazing.
Look, Phil, the difference between my game and the game run by a television station is, of course, that Joe Harris and Joe Ingles have only played for one team, and you still don't know.
I still can't tell the difference.
Tell me who it is. Tell me who it is. His name is stats. Joe.
If you told me stats and you gave me like who, like Joe or Joe, who gives me the best, like who has the best 3-point percentage, or who, I probably couldn't name it. Like I know that both of these guys mean something to their teams. And they were good at one point. Who knows if Joe Harris will even matter on the Nets anymore after Harden trade? He's going to get the ball 2 times a game, and he's going to have to pass it after he gets it. He is not getting any shots per game with those. If Irving comes back, he is not getting a shot on that team. He's going to be part of another trade.
All right, let's keep going. This number 2, you've been pretty outspoken about this team. If there's a number 2 to your Bucks hatred. The number 2 would be the number 2 seed Los Angeles Clippers of Anaheim at 9-4. Is that factor reality or fiction? What have we got?
They're totally paper champions. They're a great team because of the collection of stars, but they got a great coach kicked out of there because of their lack of ability to like work together or even be on the same page on whether or not to play in the bubble or not. They are a mess. They are an absolute mess. I think, again, when it comes to crunch time and knowing what to do, and now that the fact that they've changed coaches, even though they stayed in the hierarchy, there's no way that they have a plan on who's taking the last shot in a close game, or they either know how to blow you out or they know how to lose by 40. And that is the reality. The fact that they did not blow this up immediately after they saw it, and they doubled, tripled down, maybe even quadrupled down on George, which I get that you had to do for what you gave up to get him, but good Lord, man, is he like not the guy? And getting butthurt on game 10 of when people are calling you out for like not being, when it's like, dude, the evidence is there. Like, sure, you were a fantastic player. You were a top 20 player in the NBA, which is incredible. If other people are calling you out for being weak, like, you can't get mad at that. You did it to yourself.
And the interesting bit of cross promotion here, you said paper champion, and I just wanted to know on Barley and Me, my straight up beer podcast, I had a recent guest, Mike Venart, a musician whose band from the early 2000s called Ocean Size. They have a song called Paper Champion, so I'm going to play that into my microphone as a nice little cross comparison of what we're talking about here. So, wonderful band, Ocean Size. Check them out. Check out the latest episode of Barley and Me. But yeah, the absolutely pretenders to the throne. It's like, yeah, you're there by birthright, but we're not actually a monarchy, it turns out. We are a democracy, and you can't just say we have the players with the blood. That doesn't count. You need to, like, pay the iron price, you know?
Right. No, you do. And again, like, just because you have this, that, and the other thing, and, you know, you got a guy who won last year to make a hockey reference or whatever. It's like, just because you have the goalie who won last year who was stood on his head does not mean you're going to play that way next year, which, again, is what happened to Kawhi, which separates him from LeBron. As much as everybody who wants to hate on LeBron, who wants to say that he can't do it, like, for whatever reason, like, those are those people that you keep trying to dethrone them with, these Giannis's of the world, the Kawhi Leonards of the world, and it's not happening because he doesn't fail in those situations. Like, that's like, but Kawhi will get a pass, right? Like, it fell on Paul George and didn't fall on him. Like, it would have fell on LeBron if LeBron had Paul George and didn't make it to the finals. Like, it's amazing to me, like, the level of hypocrisy there is on LeBron, and it just needs to stop. It's amazing. He is great. He makes other people better, no matter how great that they are, and he makes them work as a team, and he gets maximum effort. So, yeah, Clippers, paper champion, hashtag Clippers suck.
That's Ocean Size Paper Champions playing in the background. Good job, me. I'm so good at this. And we already talked about it. Number 1, with a bullet, Los Angeles Lakers, 11-3, just destroying people. It's not fair. It's not funny.
It's not. They just won. Everybody talked about how, like, LeBron wasn't going to play in the beginning of the month. He was going to take, like, the month off, maybe play 1 or 2 games. He's played every single game. He's been amazing. They're 11-3. Like, they can win what games they want. They don't even have to be the number 1 seed. They don't care. They don't care. He's that good. In the story.
No debate. Number 1, they're favorites to win. That's fine. Phil, we are, as always, we try to keep this to an hour. We have failed again. It turns out reviewing every team in a conference takes forever. We didn't even talk about Tyrese Halliburton. Doing great.
Great.
Top 3 rookie.
Oh, man. Yes, he's great. We're going to review him as a beer next.
We got a few segments to wrap up the show before we get out of here. one of my favorites, Is It The Gueuze? Take on Is It The Shoes? Best dunk of the last 2 weeks, or favorite dunk. I've already said I'm never going to pick LeBron James or Giannis. LeBron had some incredible dunks, and it hurts me to not include him. Do you have anything, Phil, for Is It The Gueuze?
Oh, my God. Is It The Gueuze? Has to be Aaron Gordon dunking on Giannis, as we talked about. I had Giannis last week dunking on some poor soul. This week, I'm taking even a better one, which is 2 dunk phenoms. Aaron Gordon dunking all over Giannis as he tries to take the charge. It was amazing. If you look at the replay, you'll think that there's something wrong with your TV or computer or phone because Orlando is wearing these horrible jerseys, which I can't even get into. It was absolutely horrendous. But anyway, it was an incredible dunk. He just took his manhood and threw it right in his face, and there was nothing he could do about it. And again, this is why Giannis infuriates me beyond belief, or anybody who compares him to LeBron needs to stop and just go away into an outhouse. Do not return, because you are absolutely looking at a completely different player, not even the same thing. Aaron Gordon, Is It The Gueuze? Dunk all over you, Giannis. Good Lord.
And I'm going for less power, more beauty. I want Ian Wiseman. We talked about him on the Golden State Warriors. Has a dunk against the Nuggets that looked like ballet in action. His ankles are crossed. It looks like when you watch a video game dunk where they put their arm over their head and then they dunk, his body form was just it was dance in the air. I loved watching it. It was gorgeous. So go watch that. Ian Wiseman v Nuggets dunk. Look at it. It's a thing of beauty. The dude's gonna be fine.
Oh, he's a natural. That guy just plays his minutes, plays hard, knows where to fit in. Unlike Oubre, unlike a lot of the other talent around here that just does not fit. The guy is gonna be good on any team, but he's really good on the Warriors.
So I think we've already compared one player to a beer. I like to do 2 per episode where we get 2 players compared to a beer, because it's only fair that we have a beer podcast about basketball and beer podcast.
Hopefully it won't be as hectic of news stories.
Yeah, come on. We're not going to break down the conferences every week. That would be insane.
No,
that's a dumb thing to do.
God,
we're not going to do it again till the end when we're like, how were we? Were we right? And I've got a database. I haven't actually updated it, but I might. And so I might be able to call us on it later in the season. Let's keep track of all of our dumb predictions. But
yes.
Do you have a player that you would like to compare to a beer?
Besides what we already did, no. I would defer to you and your beer, because I know you were waiting. You wanted to do this so badly. Yeah, you've been anticipating. You're foaming at the mouth. Let it happen.
All right. Yeah. Always me pre-planning this show that's supposed to be spontaneous, like an asshole. But I did, to be fair, text you this name yesterday.
Yes.
So I hope you've taken the time to think about it. For me, I wanted to talk about my Thunder. And the one cornerstone they have, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the funky Canadian with the weird Euro step. Let's call it a Canadian step at this point. He's got a real weird slinky form. So like I said, a funky Canadian. What do you got?
I have a funky beer, which I loved as its original beer, one of the first ones that I had from Victory, which was a Golden Monkey.
Nice.
Now, Golden Monkey have a sour version of Golden Monkey, which I would compare to him as being not the same beer at all. Not the same beer besides the name. Mm-hmm. And when you have it, it doesn't take you back there, but you really appreciate it. And so I think I'm appreciating his style. I think it just makes me old if I don't appreciate his style. I think he's something of the transition of what the NBA is going to become. He doesn't do everything that I feel like is correct, just like McCollum and all these guys throwing up shots 3-on-5. But they're going in and they're scoring and they're putting up big numbers. So who knows if it will work out in the end. But that guy, again, looks comfortable, looks like he should be there. Golden Sour Monkey. Try it if you see it.
It's delicious.
It's very
also,
weird.
But very
different. It's also delicious. It's different. Yes.
It's so
if
different.
You have them side by side,
you would think you're getting like a similar beer, and they're not.
They're not. But yes, to me, Victory, Golden Sour Monkey, that's my call.
That's a great call. Now me, a little more cross promotion with Barley and me. I happen to, because of COVID, interview international superstars like Mike Venart from Oceanside, who you heard earlier when we were talking about the Clippers with the Paper Champion. Paper Champion can be found on their EP, Music for Nurses, for Oceanside. But I also talked to Canadian musician Jordan Zadarozny earlier this year. He's a big beer nerd, and he told me that there's a Russian River of Canada, but that's not where I'm picking. Funny fact, while we've been talking, I've actually been getting messages from Jordan Zadarozny of new beers he's drinking that he wants me to know about. But he messaged me a few days ago with this one. It's Solstice d'Hiver from Dieu du Ciel. It is a barley wine. Dieu du Ciel, which is God of the Skies. This is how they describe it. This noble winter beer is brown in color with flaming red highlights. Its taste is delicate, sweet, and liquor-like with a hint of burnt caramel coming from the malt and a prolonged boiling time. It is a very bitter beer with aromas of hops and alcohol with flavors. I like to say it that way with the U. Okay, flavors reminiscent of red fruit brought by the English type yeast we use to ferment it. The aftertaste is accentuated by the wonderful flavor of hops. That's how the brewery describes it, or as Jordan puts it, a stone classic from the gods at Dieu du Ciel. So bring that Canadian funk in there. Let's get some crazy barley wine in there. He's making the steps. That's what I'm going to say. To get to those IPA levels, he's doing it. I'm not arguing against it. I like that. I think we both with some funky styles. I think that's what he is. He's an up-and-comer. Again, if I shake my fist at it, I'm just looking like an old man. I think you have to try new stuff besides milkshake IPAs. And I think that they're going in the right direction. I like it. I like it a lot. So that's that. Before we get out of here, we got one more segment we got to do. At the end of it, it is a beer and basketball podcast. We're going to recommend some beers to you through a segment we're calling Canning Treys.
Canning Treys.
Three beers worth looking into.
Yes. And one is the one that we're drinking. I think like Urban Roots, their Modest Pleasures IPA. If it's out there, get it. Like, it is really phenomenal. It's sliding under the radar. It's not one of the ones they make all year round. I think that unless we start buying it like consistently, they might not make it again. So if you can get out there, try it while you can. It's very popular. It's perfect because out here in Northern California especially, it is warmer weather, and so you got to enjoy it while you can. That one is great.
Yeah, and my pick, I get only one of the three here because I got two last time, so this is my one. I'm going to go with Oak Park Brewing Liquid Peace Unity Ale. That's a lot of words.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard about it, but I'm going to tell the audience definitely has not. This is a beer made with ingredients from every continent on Earth except Antarctica, which easy cop out. The oceans flow into each other. You could just take water and say it's from Antarctica because you probably touched it at some point. But they have integrity. They did not say they got something from Antarctica. This is a Belgian ale made with at least one ingredient from every continent on Earth besides Antarctica. Had it on Drink Something, Say Something. Friends of the show, you've been on it. Now I've been on it.
Fantastic.
I thought this is a 7% Belgian fine, right? Turns out 10%.
Whoa. Oh, yes. Put you under the table there a little bit.
Does not drink like it. Drinks like a 6.6 maybe. Delicious beer. Oak Park Brewing, Oak Park, Sacramento.
Find it, get it, pick it up. Get it wherever you can.
My first love Belgians, so do it.
Yes, they are a local favorite. I think they're up and coming. I do like them a lot. Those guys are just, there's again talking about good people who make good beer. Oak Park Brewing Company. They have some really good guys there. Go support them. And then I would say my final one is another rock star. They've been great. Moonraker. They've made a lot of changes. I know they're dealing with a lot of stuff, and I know they're building like a compound up in Single Springs area. That thing's going to be massive and amazing in Northern California wine country, but I digress. They made this killer beer, another one that might just slide under your radar. It's called Some Grass. I had it yesterday. It was absolutely amazing. I wish I was able to grab a 4-pack, but I was able to get a single can by chance, and it was all it was cracked up to be. It was, again, like you open the can, pour it out. It smelled like very fresh hops, like just right out of the gate. And then it drank really nice and crisp, had a hazy factor to it. And, yeah, really easy to drink. I could have drank 2 or 3 of those. Probably not a good idea. Also, on that list. So get them. Their Crush series has always been great and phenomenal. We don't talk about them enough. But they have a ton of hype, so they get a lot of love. But yeah, they're still making really good beers out there. So definitely check them out if you can find that beer.
Yeah, and when I heard some grass, I'm like, is this a Saison? Was my first thought. A little grassy hay, but it turns out it's an IPA. I'm like, wait, hold on. Maybe it's a Pilsner, a little grassy Pilsner. You're like, no.
No.
Some grass.
Of course.
Like weed grass.
Yeah, like weed, man. Like
dank
it tastes
grass.
dank.
Yeah.
Like danky freshness, man. Get with it. Of course it is.
Beer is the worst. I'm like, that was my third thought. Grass. Yeah.
Oh, right.
From
grass.
Moonraker, the people who are known for their IPAs?
No, never. Come on.
It wouldn't be that. That's crazy. Yeah, so we need to get out of here. We've gone way too long, as always. This will never happen again unless it does.
Sure, until it does next time.
Until it does next time. But we won't be reviewing conferences like this for a while, so everything's fine. We're going to be much more focused. Maybe. No, we'll be even more off the cuff, I think. But
way more. Yeah, there'll be way more nonsense.
There will be we need to talk about this entire big concept. It won't happen.
Oh, yes. We had to get it in, and I'm glad that we did, that we got in all the teams equally, some more than others, got into some rants, and now it'll be time for more nonsense, which is really what we're here for. That's our biggest wheelhouse, is that we bring nothing but nonsense here, and we can bring in more beer, hopefully more guests, and we'll do some really cool stuff in the near future. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So make sure to listen to share this podcast. Tell people you're enjoying it. If you are, I hope you are, because I'm having a blast every time. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Twitter is Please Dunk Pod, PLZ Dunk Pod. Instagram, Please Dunk Responsibly. Should I spell responsibly? I feel like I should at this point.
Oh, God. Please Google responsibly.
Yeah, make sure you listen to it. You find it. Don't forget to email us if you have ideas. If you want us to compare a player to a beer, a team to a brewery, if you want to counterbalance what we've said, and you're like, no, I think this person's more this, we'll happily read that on air. Email us, slide into those GMs.
Please do.
Please dunk responsibly at gmail.com, or again, slide into our GMs, #slide into our GMs.
Yeah, send us beer that you want us to try. Beer recommendations for Canning Treys. Anything that you have that you want to compare beer to a player, we're all for it. We love concept. We love ideas. We love that people are listening.
Absolutely. So that's how you find us. And, of course, if you want to go and find us in person, you can find me across social media at Barley and Me Pod. Phil, where can they find you?
Oh, on Instagram, basically, on Culinary Orlando. And then also, on our podcast page, Please Dunk Responsibly on Instagram as well. We're constantly, again, looking for things, trying to stay involved, and we love our community and beer, so please drink responsibly.
All right, so that's the episode. So thanks so much for listening. I'm Ben Rice.
And I'm Phil Webster.
Reminding you to
please
dunk responsibly.